Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, an incredible DJ, DJ Big Kev. Welcome to the Mike Squires Friends podcast.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, so what you been up to, dude?
Just been working, bro, getting to it, cooking up, getting things done, wrapping the year up. You know, it's about to be January soon, so right now just trying to finish the year strong.
How would you describe yourself to someone who's like never heard of you before?
If you never heard about me ever, I'd say definitely very versatile. I grew up, so for the people who don't know my like background story, I was born in New York. I moved to Norwalk, Connecticut when I was in like second grade, but then my parents got divorced in like third grade. So my dad lived in Mount Vernon, the Bronx, Queens, New Rochelle. So I grew up very like tri-state. Like, yeah, I went to like Norwalk public schools and all that, but I grew up going back and forth. So my influence and like the way I DJ, the way I produce music, even like the way we are, is very like tri-state / New York, Southern Connecticut vibes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I saw you at the event, the Spectra Showcase event this past weekend, dude.
Yeah.
How'd you end up connecting with all those dudes? Because, you know, Murda's been on the podcast before. Melodia's been on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Shout out First Class Studios, man. Shout out Mike. Shout out Murder. So our story with them goes kind of back because so I'm about to be 27 in January. I've known them probably since I was like 19 or 20. The real way that I was introduced to them was my buddies were doing music. They still make music now, but at that time it was more of them doing music. And at that moment, I came back from college, and they were at this place called Lions Den. For everybody who knows about that, like before First Class, there was Lions Den. So at Lions Den, I met all those dudes, kind of tapped in. But at that time, I wasn't even like the DJ Big Kev that I am right now. I was more of like a fly on the wall that liked music. So I wasn't a producer. I wasn't even really like I did like I think a few house parties here and there up until that point, but I wasn't as invested how I am now. So I would just be a fly in the wall. My homies like sessions, I'd go with them like all the time. And then over time you start building rapport with people. Oh, okay, you're their homie. And then I'm kind of a funny guy. Like anybody who knows me, I'm a cool guy, but you know, I could joke around too. So people are like, "Oh, this kid's funny." You know, years go by, good energy goes by, you know. They end up opening up First Class Studios. So the homies, so I'm part of this collective called Forever Worldwide. You know, my man's Raf, actually, he's our manager. So Raf brings me over there with Vinti and a couple dudes, and we start recording at First Class Studios. But this is when First Class is early. Like, if you've been there now, it's not even that First Class. This is when they still look like a warehouse, and there was a couch and a few mics, you know what I mean? So I've known those guys for a while now, if you want me to be honest with you. But how I said, at that time, I wasn't even producing yet. So my music venture was different. I was just starting to become like a club DJ at that time. So when I came back, like when I was going to Lions Den, I had like a few house parties under my belt, but nothing like serious. Like it wasn't like, oh, DJ Big Kev. It was just like, oh, I've messed around at a party because I was always like a party goer. Like even in college, we used to go to parties all the time. Raf used to come up. I used to go to Eastern Connecticut State University, so Raf used to come up with me. A couple of my boys used to come up every weekend, so we were always like involved in the music scene, like even if it was indirectly. But years go on. About a year ago, I told Mike and Murder, I said, listen, man, I've known you guys for years, and I'm ready to take my career to the next level because as a lot of you may know, I do a lot of club stuff, or did for a while, but that kind of stuff is cool, but at some point you want more. Why? Because, yeah, you could get burnt out, but it's not even so much that. It's like, even if you're doing well and you're doing 2-3 gigs a weekend, it's like, for how long? Or what's next? You know what I'm saying? So I felt like I reached a point like almost a year ago where I'm like, I need what's next for me. And what's next for me was production. So I started kind of like telling Mike and Murder, I'm like, listen, I'll start here as an intern or whatever the fuck. Just let me get in here and teach me a thing or two. But I'm also a quick learner, so I'm the type of dude where if I'm around the right environments and I'm just watching a lot, I'll pick up on it. So I guess for about a year now, almost, you could say that I've officially been part of First Class Studios, but those guys been the fam for years now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. Yeah, so, some of the listeners who follow the podcast actually know that I recorded my Sample Tape 1 project at Lion's Den with Murda, Melodia. Well, that's where I really connected with Melodia, but Murda I've known I've known Murda since he was at his mom's house, but the bottom floor. I don't know, if you ever went to that Magic Sound Studios was the
this is throwbacks, and I probably wasn't even around yet at that time.
But something that I take out of what you just said is that you kind of just were around the scene before you dived into it more career-wise, which I think is actually valuable to a lot of people that are trying to figure out if they want to get into music at all in the first place, right? So it's just being around people and kind of seeing what they do and learning from them, I think is a great way to kind of get your feet wet into the industry. So, the next two questions I'm going to ask you is really what was the changing point when your DJ career started picking up? And part two of this question is what made you really want to get into production and what were the first steps you took to get into it?
All right. So the first part of that question is how did I start DJing? So I just remember that around that time, I used to go to a lot of college parties. I used to go everywhere, not just the school I was at. Because, when you're in college, you still keep in contact with some of your high school friends. One might go to UConn, might want to go over there. One goes to Trinity, one goes to wherever. So around that time, I was in that phase of just partying every weekend. It wasn't a music thing yet, but at some point, I was always musically inclined. So when I was young, my mom signed me up for piano lessons when we still lived in New York. So when I was about six, very young, 6, 7 type thing, I took 2 years of piano. And then when I went to 4th grade, 3rd grade-ish, they signed me up for violin for another year or two. But I stopped doing that for a while because as I got older, I kind of turned into a knucklehead. I'll admit it. I've had my bad little moments. And then life kind of just life. How I said, I kept going to those parties and that music side was always in me. So it turned into a, let me just get on aux situation. They're like, yeah, go for it. Then people are like, yo, this stuff's pretty cool. And I'm like, you're right. So then I invested in myself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a little controller, a little 2-channel controller, small thing. It was probably $150. I drove somewhere on Facebook Marketplace. I met somebody and bought it. Started messing around with that. And once it got to that point, when people would come home for the winter and the summers in my town, people also kind of knew me already. So they'd be like, yo, Kev, pull up, come play some music. So that's really where I started getting my first reps. It was house parties. And then after that, when I was 21, it was 2020 because my birthday's in January. So that summer, I had planned, you know what? I'm going to roll out as a DJ in the nightclubs. I'm going to try to make a name for myself. And then we all know, COVID hit. So now it was a time where I wanted to roll out, but I had to get creative because I already had that spark in me. I didn't want to just let it die out. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do IG Live. This is around the time IG Live was like clicking off. Everyone was home, so you would have like 20 people watching you because everyone's home. So I started doing that in my mother's basement at the time. And it led to like just like a thing where it's like, you know what? I called it ISO Lounge because like isolation. So I called it ISO, like, oh, I'll throw flyers up like, oh, come tomorrow at 8 o'clock on IG. We're going to be at ISO Lounge. So it started to be like a little thing, and then like people started joining in on it. Then I started getting creative with it because I was like, you know what? I'm not even at the clubs yet. Let me use this as like a head start. So I started atting and like tagging into my IG Live like the places that I wanted to DJ locally. So I'd be like, okay, let me tag this place because this is around the corner. Maybe they'll see me now, and when things open, they'll hit me up. And funny thing is, some places actually did. So that's kind of how it came about. You know, everyone got out of COVID. A lot of people were still like scared and stuff to like party because they're like, oh, you're 6 feet distance and all that stuff. But I was also in a situation where I felt like that whole time stalled me. So I was like, I'm in here. If they're telling me to come and get a DJ gig because it's dead and it's easier for me now maybe than it was back then, I'm going to do that. So around that time, I started DJing at a club in Norwalk, actually like a little bar. They gave me a shot. They were like, listen, Kev.
What's the name of the spot?
The spot it's called Bandito.
Okay.
In Sono. So they were like, listen, Kev, you're not like known yet, but we'll give you a shot. Come every Thursday for now. It was like for like compared to what I make now, it was like for nothing, but it was an opportunity. So I was like, all right, why not? And they turned it into a consistent thing. So they were like, it's an every Thursday thing until further notice. I was like, all right, cool. So I started like, you know, kind of building it up, started inviting other DJs and like, you know, started kind of making a little name for myself. But then as I did that, I started to realize like the game, how it really goes, how much you're really supposed to make, how you can really take this thing to the next level. So I was like, you know what? This is cool that this is here, but I want more. So I started like knocking on doors, next door in Stanford, everywhere, White Plains, the city. So I started knocking on more doors. Long story short, I got a shot at you know the Palms here in Stanford?
Of course, dude.
So they were kind of like, oh, listen, come upstairs in the white room, you know, but it's not the main floor, but you'll start. And I was like, you know what? We all started from humble beginnings, right? So started doing that. I was at Alex Lounge in Sono too.
Shout out Alex Lounge, dude.
Yeah. I think if I'm not mistaken, I like threw like the first party there.
Dude, I believe it.
Yeah.
That's where I had my first album release party, dude, and it was fucking tight.
I remember
dude.
that. I was there. I saw you guys.
It was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah, man. And like once I did that, and once I started getting into more event planning versus getting booked for a gig, it started really opening up my eyes because I was like, okay, this is fun, but this is also where you can make the real money at. So time goes on, you start reaching out. You know, at this time, I had my sister helping me. My sister, it was just her birthday yesterday, actually. Michelle,
Happy
if you're
birthday.
watching this, happy birthday. She would kind of be like my manager / assistant. And she would hit these places up, you know, kind of put her face out there for me. Hey, I'm representing Kev. He wants to DJ here, yada, yada, yada. And my sister, she's kind of good at what she did at that time. You know, she used to work at ESPN and like Univision and A&E Networks. So like even her on her own, she already had her own industry like ins without me. So I feel like she even took me on as like a side project kind of thing. Like, all right, let me help Lil Bro out too. And it helps her out too. So I was like, all right. She started hitting these places up. People started booking me. People started hitting her up for me. Before you realize it, you're like 50 shows later. You're in Stanford all over the place. You're in Norwalk all over the place. White Plains, everywhere. Basically, like, there's a handful of places in this area that I haven't DJ'd at. But, you know, I could basically say anywhere that's anywhere here, I already did it. So, like, you know, time goes on and you're like, shit, you blink and you went from being in your mom's basement to, like, being a factor out here. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how that came about. And then fast forward a few years later, I get to a point where I'm like, the reason I even get into DJing is because I love music, period. Regardless if I'm pressing play or whatever, I like music. And back in the day when I was in college and kind of starting in the early DJ era, I had downloaded GarageBand just to like for shits and giggles. So I already kind of had like a pre-notion of how to make beats, but like I kind of took a pause because the DJ thing took off. And I also knew that GarageBand was cool, but if I wanted to take this serious, I would have to take it up a notch, you know? So about a year ago, I had like a little crossroads moment where I'm like, what's next? What do I want? I could keep doing this, you know, but before I realize it, I'll be 30 and I'm just throwing parties, you know? And shout out to all the DJs and promoters out there watching and listening to you, you know? Shout out to y'all. Everyone got their own thing, but for me, I just knew that I would want it to be more than that, not just that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start locking in. Let me start hitting the studio up. I was already in the studio, how I told you, but like, let me start going on my own now. Like, just really trying to learn and like really be an intern for real. I ended up purchasing FL Studio probably, when was this, like last March or February-ish? And ever since then, I've just been locked in. Shout out to First Class Studios and shout out everybody too, not just Mike and Murder, you know. Shout out to my brother, Young Juani, you know, shout out to Hollywood, you know, everybody over there. You know, it's a lot of people that have helped me in this journey. And even in this last year alone, like they've helped me level up to a next level because, you know, you could buy FL and try to make beats, but it takes a while to learn the tricks.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning, like just being surrounded by people that were already in the space. Like, you know, just having FL, you know, is good, but having Wani around, who's an incredible producer, like, you know what I mean? That's going to help jumpstart you. And he's going to be like, no, take this 808. No, take this snare. No, look for your samples here. You know what I mean? So having guidance of people around you is like a huge help, dude. But I want to pull it back because earlier you said you got into some knuckleheaded stuff. Is there anything that you'd be down to share and talk about, dude?
I mean, so like, all right, so kind of like what I was saying earlier in this interview, you know, my parents got divorced kind of when I was young. So, like, not to make it a sob story, but, like, I've never necessarily had it easy, per se. So I used to get in a lot of trouble. Like, you know, if you went to high school with me or middle school, like, you know this. And that's why I also think it's cool that we've been able to make it this far, you know. I know there's teachers out there who might even watch this and be like, wow, Kevin Fernandez, like, I would have never thought he was over there. He used to crash out. Because when I was young, I was a bug out, you know, whatever it was at the moment. You know, now that I'm older, I could look back and I could reflect, you know, whether it was for attention or something was missing or, you know, you just felt like, fuck it, I have nothing to lose. Like, whatever the situation was, when I was like 15, 16, I was just doing a whole lot of knucklehead shit. Not like one thing, you know, I was getting suspended from school. I was getting detention.
Why were you getting suspended, dude?
Because the thing with me, too, is like, I used to see shit like this back then, and, you know, maybe even sometimes now, but really when I was young, I'm like, you're not going to tell me shit, especially if you don't do nothing for me, you know? So, like, sometimes that's not good because you could close doors, and as I got older, I kind of dialed back on that. But when I was younger, I'm like, lady, you don't even know me. You over here telling me you're going to call my mom, like, I'm not even worried about that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So at that age, you're kind of like, fuck everybody, you know? And also I was doing dumb shit too, you know. I eventually got, you know, in trouble. I got caught up when I was like 16, got arrested. I didn't end up like going to jail or nothing like that because that was my first offense, but I had to go through like a whole little probation program and, you know, meet people and, you know, like you get in situations where you're like, damn, this could have went worse, but at the same time, if I keep it up, it will be.
What's something that you learned from that experience?
Something that I learned from that experience... Shit, I learned a lot from that because, like how I said, it just kind of changed me. It was like, all right, you could keep going down this path, but this is the sweet way out. Like, you got it out easy. You know, it's not going to be easy every time. You know, sometimes you fuck up and sometimes you can't fix it. So that kind of made me realize, you know what, I have more to offer. I know I have more to offer, and, like, I'm not going to keep throwing my life away out, especially at a young age, you know, so... That kind of made me like be like, you know what? Let me put my head on straight. Started playing sports more in high school towards the end again. And then I was like, you know what? Up until that moment, college wasn't even a thing. Like, I was on
Yeah.
The way I was heading, it was like full crash out. Like college wasn't even an option for me.
Was there a specific moment where you were like, I got to change things up?
I mean, that was part of that moment, but a lot of things that came from that moment. So, like, you know, like the way my family perceived me after that, it was like, you are a young guy with a lot of potential, but you're also kind of the fuck up until further notice. So it kind of made me be like, you know what? It's up to me to change this shit, because if I keep heading down this path, it's really not going to go anywhere positive. And I want to change for me. I don't want to just keep being the fuck up. You know, that's cool until you start getting older and you're just a fuck up. There's no like funny thing attached to it or anything. So I was like, all right, let me get my shit together. College started to kind of be an option. And because I wanted to do college at some point, but it was kind of too late to the party, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to just go and sign up for UConn off rip when I have like a horrible GPA. Let me go to NCC. Let me start from there. So that's what I did. I went to NCC. I met a lot of people, you know. And how I said, I used to party a lot. Even when I was at NCC, like I wasn't one of them dudes who like, I went to my first college party like once I transferred. Like I was been partying since high school. So like even when I went to NCC and a lot of people were like, oh, this shit is boring. Like you just go home and go to work and go to school. Like they did. I made the best of it. Like I would still hit up my friends that were at schools on the weekend. So like I was not in Norwalk on the weekend. Or I got cool with people at NCC that had friends at other schools. So they'd be like, yo, Kev, like there's a party tonight over here. Like fuck Norwalk. Like let's go over there. And I'm like, all right, why not? So that kind of started making me see the other side to college, even as a commuter, like, oh, so this is what it's like when you are on campus. Like, oh, shit. So then I started focusing up more. I ended up transferring to Eastern Connecticut State University, and I went there for a semester. It was cool, but I also feel like for the money that I was spending for, like, you know, shout out to Eastern, not to badmouth it or nothing, but, like, the money I was spending compared to like what they had to offer, I was like, yeah, nah. I'll go back to NCC, save my tokens until further notice.
Yeah, and for those listening too, like NCC is Norwalk Community College. It's a college I went to as well. Okay. And, you know, I think there probably are a lot of, you know, young artists, entrepreneurs, or people that just aren't sure what they want to do with their life that could probably take a lesson out of this too, because I remember my time at NCC was kind of a confusing time because, you know, during the week I would be going to these classes and I would be just cultural anthropology, painting class. But I already knew in my heart I wanted to do, you know, video production and music. So I'm like, why am I in this cultural anthropology class right now? But it was really confusing for me because I'd be going to my classes during the week, and then on weekends I'd be flying out for my like shoots and gigs that I had. So then I'd like have this incredible weekend where I'm like in Little Rock, Arkansas shooting a video. Then I'd come back to painting on Monday and I'd be like, yo,
back to the bullshit.
Well, I'm just like, what am I doing? And it was very confusing because, you know, like a lot of people in my life were like, you know, you got to go to school. You got to do the whole school thing. But I just like, so I ended up dropping out with like a couple credits left, which is insane. Like my family, they don't really joke about it, but sometimes they're like, well, why don't you go back? You only got like 4 credits to finish. But it's like, you know, I found a career, like you can't go to school for certain things. Like if you're trying to be a doctor, if you're trying to be a therapist, if you're
lawyer, whatever,
go to school. You know what I mean? You need that piece of paper. But if you're in the creative field, dude, I have been on countless tours. Not once have I been in a venue has someone been like, yo, let me see that degree though. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a realistic thing. So I think if there's artists or like people that are in music or just any entrepreneur that are listening, don't feel the pressure to go to school. And if you do feel the pressure, go to like a community college or something like that, so you could save your money, because the worst case scenario is you spend fucking all your money to go to a school to get a job that you hate, dude. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, figure out what your passion is first before you dive in, dude. So I'll bring it to that now. It's like, at what point do you feel like, because it's scary to take that leap, right? Yeah. It's scary to take the leap from whatever you were doing. And I'd be curious too, like what were you doing prior to DJing and production, but like, and you know, what was the feeling when you're like, yo, I'm gonna take this full leap?
So this is how things went. So I went to Eastern, I partied, you know, had a situation up there. It was cool, but, you know, I was like, you know what? It's time to go back home, save money. I want to still keep doing this school stuff, but like I want to see what I want to do. Because at that time, like DJing, I was already starting to do it. But even then, I didn't take it like something serious like myself. I was just like, okay, this is something cool that I could do, something cool that I could either get paid for, or even at that time, just be a part of something, you know. So I ended up going back to NCC. Still kept going because this is the thing, like kind of what you said, like if you want to be creative, you don't have to necessarily go to school for that. But at the time, I was going to school for business management. So I always knew, like regardless, whichever way in life I went, I always knew that me doing business, whether it would be in the music industry, whether it be me doing real estate, me owning a company or whatever the situation is, I always knew that sooner than later, I would want to be involved with that. So the thing with me is like, I wasn't necessarily one of those kids who was like undecided up until my senior year or junior year. Like I was going to school for business from jump. So even though like I didn't graduate, because I was going to get to that too, because I was going to school for business from jump, I didn't really have too many bullshit electives. So even though I didn't finish, like I was 30 credits shy of finishing, I still to this day know a lot of business concepts that I learned, and I even use it now, and whether it's in my DJ business or whether it's anything, just negotiating or anything
Which
like
is
that.
a great point though too, because you know, just because you don't have the piece of paper doesn't mean you didn't learn. You know what I mean? You were there for a hot second and learned it. Do you have something that you remember from like your school days, like business wise, something that you learned that was like very helpful advice that you kind of carry with you today?
Yeah, so like when I left NCC, I actually retransferred out, and I wish I would have known that my life was gonna go how it was gonna go now, because that last transfer I would have not did it, and it would have saved me a lot of money. But I also don't regret it because I ended up transferring to Sacred Heart University, and I got accepted into the Jack Welch College the Jack Welch Business School of Business or whatever. So I ended up getting accepted there. I had a good GPA the first year. I had like a 3.0. I was doing good and all that. But then the problem with that came the financial struggles of going to a private school. So it was going good and all that, but came time for the second year and all that. Oh, okay, that little $5,000 that maybe your mom or somebody could put up at Eastern so you could continue here, well, now it's 20. And like, you know, to come out 20 bands out of nowhere, coming from a single mother situation, it was like damn near impossible. So, you know, I wasn't necessarily doing so hot my last semester either. Like, I'll admit that. But a mix of that and, you know, our financial situation, like, it was just the perfect, like, formula for, like, dropping out. Like, it just kind of happened that way. You know, I couldn't afford it anymore. And then I wasn't doing so hot that last semester, so I don't even know if it was a mix of, like, my mom just not believing in me at that time or me not believing in myself. But long story short, it just went from that to like dropping out. And kind of like in your situation, I was like 30 credits shy. So it's like, I have this convo with my mom all the time. It's like, yeah, I have this big debt because of college, but like the stuff's in here still. Like how my man's Raph over here says, like he told me this years ago, it's $1 million in your brain. You just got to figure out how to get it out of there. So
I like that quote, dude.
Yeah. So for me, it's like, as much as, you know, people doubt me sometimes, even still, it's in here. And I think that over time, even here right now, this is a testament that something is there. You know, you don't just get here from one day to the next, or you don't just take a leap of faith in your mom's basement and, you know, end up on Mike Squires' couch. You know what I mean?
Dude. Yeah, we're in the back of the holiday wish right now. But another thing that is so important too, and like, you just got to get started and do what you can. You know what I mean? Because I'm in the middle of building a studio right now, which is crazy. This is going to sound, you know, talking about when you were talking about knucklehead stuff earlier, I started going through my head and I'm like, yeah, I guess I was a really well-behaved kid for the most part. But like, I definitely had like a couple knuckleheaded moments, right? I think we all do, right? But I just was thinking, because I got into a fight, dude, like a fist fight. And anybody who knows me now,
they're like, who, Mike Squires fighting?
Yeah,
no
like
way.
they're just like, yo, that is the craziest thing. Like, there is a video somewhere, but other than that, no one would ever believe it. But I got into a fight at the Stanford Town Center, which is where we're at right now. And it's funny to look. Now, I probably was 16 at the time. I'm 29 now, so that was 13 years ago. 13 years later, I'm now building a studio in the Stanford Town Center. So to me, it's just funny how like
life works.
Yeah, like I was out there fighting at the square, like no business fighting in the square. Someone was talking too much shit though, and I just like, I was at a dark time in my life too, you know, because sometimes you just got to figure yourself out and try different things. I don't think at any point I was going to go down a dark path, but I did have that one-off moment. But
I could just imagine you fighting right now, low key. That's
dude,
hilarious.
my homie Frank Carazelli might have that video, dude. That's an ancient one though, 13 years. That that shit looks terrible. Oh yeah. Like the quality, like that's like, I don't even know how long the iPhone's been out, but that's got to be like iPhone
BlackBerry days or
that.
Like
honestly,
iPhone
that was
2.
shot on a flip phone, dog. But pulling it back though, you talked about like believing in yourself and your mom believing in you. Like it's kind of an important thing to believe in yourself, and I know like it's a very common theme on this podcast, but sometimes it's hard to believe in yourself, and honestly, that's kind of the first thing you really need to kick it off because you got to believe this shit's possible. If you don't believe that your dreams or goals are possible, you'll never do it. And on the other side, if you have people around you that don't believe in you and, it's very, very hard for you to get out of that area. Like if I believed in myself and I had 5 homies around me saying, nah, you don't got it. Like, you know what I mean? It would never happen because I just would like, you know what? Maybe I don't have it. But that's why it's important to surround yourself with people that believe in you. And like, when did you get to the point where you like started believing in yourself? Did you have like a moment or you just like, and how do you deal with the doubt?
Yeah, so like kind of going to like what you said, the thing with me though is like I've always been somebody who's like self-driven in the sense that like if I say I'm going to do something, even if it takes 10 years, it's going to get done. So like I've never really been the type of dude that it's like my friend doesn't believe in me or my mom doesn't believe in me, like, oh, I'm gonna just hang it up. Like for anything, I've been the type of person when you doubt me, that's when I like shine the most because I like kind of like feed off that underdog energy because just a lot of moments in life, like I've always been the underdog or been expected to be the underdog, like, oh yeah, like yeah, he'll never or whatever. And then he does. And so like even moments like that, like sometimes you got to prove yourself, bro. It's not even about like your mom believing in you, your dad or your family or your friends. Like sometimes, like I hate to say it, but sometimes those are your biggest doubters because they feel like they know you for real. And because they feel like they know you, they're attached to an idea of you. And let's say in my case, because I remember I told you like I was kind of fucking up when I was young, the idea of them is like Kev the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, who, you? Yeah, right. Then, like, yeah, you start doing nightclubs. Whatever. Nightclubs. Oh, but you're on the radio. Oh, you're on the radio? Oh, all right. But you're still a fuck up. And, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now you start doing production and it's like, okay, it's starting to click together. Like, even today, I told my mom, I'm like, I'm going to go get interviewed. Like, my mom knows I'm on the radio. Like, the first time I was on the radio, she was like, where are you going? Because it was late night. And I'm like, I'm going to go work. And she's like, well, we're Latinos, I'm first generation. So like to us, it's like, if there's no check at the end of that, that's not work to them. So she's
I could
like,
talk on that heavy, dude. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about you being first generation too, dude.
Yeah. So I'm first generation. My mother's from El Salvador. My dad's Mexican. But kind of what I was going to say, like, you got to believe in yourself first, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe for you. All it takes is a bad moment and, the right, wrong people to bring you down. And if you're a self-doubter, that's when your lights turn off and your dream turns off too. So for me, I've just kind of always been somebody where like, even in the toughest moments, like, whether it's a breakup or, your family doubting you or your friends or you doubting yourself, like I've always somehow, some way brought it back to music, But to go back to like what you just said, like first generation stuff. Yeah, so my mother's from El Salvador, my dad's from Mexico. They met in New York in the 90s. I'm the third child they had. So I'm the youngest out of their kids. But my dad has more kids, so I have little brothers and all that type of stuff. So yeah, like I come from a first generation family. So like all they know is work. They don't like all this music stuff and creative shit. That's all it is to them. Like, oh, the little hobby. Oh, the little hobby over there, whatever, cool. And especially us Mexicanos, ponte a trabajar. Like, yo, go work. But what they don't understand is that I want to work smarter, not harder. Like, regardless, it's going to be hard work. But it's like, do I see myself being in my 50s? And mind you, shout out to my parents because they're even the reason why I'm even breathing right now, right? But I also see them too sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be at that age going through that type of stuff, you know, yelling at my future Kevin, you know, because of shit that, you know, that he didn't do or ways I didn't set him up for, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a situation where I always have that pressure. Like, you might not see it because I'm a cool guy, I'm a funny guy, you know. I don't show you like the bad immediately, but that pressure is always there because how I said, my parents, like, you know, they're not together, but, you know, when I told them I was on the radio, they were proud about it, but it's like, oh, so how much do you make now? And it's like, oh, well, like, that situation is kind of different. You know, it's my first situation. So once you start reminding them that no money's attached, you're kind of like, oh, well, it's not work then. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird situation where, again, you got to believe in yourself because your own peoples might be the ones to bring you down if you're like a person who's not strong-willed and confident, you know?
The entertainment industry is tricky in that way, too, because, you know, I've had those conversations before. Because when I was starting out, like, you know, I'd tell something that I felt like was an accomplishment and then be like, oh, how much you get for that? And it's like, oh, I didn't get anything for that. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't get anything. Like, oh, but it was a sick opportunity. Like, no, I'm getting my name out there. And to be honest, you know, I've been in the game since like 16, 17, right? 29 now. I feel like I am like just now getting paid back for all those years that I didn't get paid. You know what I mean? But that's like, you know, you have to build your name. Like, and I hate the words of building a brand, but it's like you just got to build yourself up. And you know what it is? It's building your reputation. That's like the biggest thing where it's like, you know, I've been in the game so long that I can like walk in certain rooms and like, you know, there's a level of respect that I get because I've been in the game. You know what I mean? Which is like, but that only comes with time. And literally anyone could do it, but you just got to just keep putting the work in, hard work, whether it's free work, but just consistently being out there. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I think I talked about this on the last podcast too, but you know, you can hate me. You could hate the music I make. You could not like what I'm about, but you can never knock that I'm a hard worker, right? I will out, like, regardless of what you think, I have just been out here for too long. Like, I see myself turning slowly into the jaded old man too, where it's like back in my day or like, but you know, it's funny. Like, and I started taking more meetings in the city recently. And I like, you know, 10 years ago when I was like taking meetings, I was so excited. I was so filled with joy. Everything they said was exciting to me. I was happy. I sat on a Zoom call this morning for like a distribution company. And I'm like, is there anything you guys can guarantee for me? They're like, well, we can't guarantee playlists. You know, that's how the game goes. I was like, well, so like, what do you got? Like, if you guys are going to take a percent, like what do you offer? Like, what can you
do for me?
Yeah. And I just felt like he's like, well, you know, you have 24-hour support. Like, you know, we're going to do our best to like pitch you for playlisting. And like the reality of certain situations is like, you know, now that I'm older, I'm like, Mike Squires isn't a playlist artist. You know what I mean? You kind of have to like learn who you are in your spaces. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, well, if you're pitching what I consider myself not a playlist artist to playlists, it's like, you're going to be taking a percent and get me nothing. You know what I mean? And I've like been down the road. But the point I'm just trying to get to is that as you go on, you're just going to learn so much more. You learn more about yourself where you can make decisions and just like, you just commend respect and like just know what you're looking for too is the point I'm trying to get to.
Know your worth, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. And you also know the red flags, and that's a fun thing we can talk about because there is no way you have been in this music industry without having some sort of shady business or bad dealings, dude. So tell me a story. You don't have to like put people's names on blast, but tell me a story of a bad business dealing you had because there's just no way. I refuse to believe it.
Well, this is the thing, man, and I hate to say this, but to all the DJs out there, I know, you know, at some point, sooner than later, we all been there, or, you know, you haven't yet, but you probably will. And don't think you won't, because as much as you think like, oh, I deal with big guys, they'll never, man, you'll be surprised. Sometimes it's the big guys doing the shadiest shit. So that being said, you know, as a DJ, it's tough, man. You know, you have a lot of situations where, especially at the beginning, where it's like, oh, Big Kev, like, I want you. Like, there's this big event coming up. Like, everything big. Like, we want you there. Cool. Boom. How much you paying? Oh, yeah, but we're paying day of. Cool, perfect. You go there, you promote it, you know, you do the whole bit. You get there, you kill it, people like you. End of the night comes around. You got that money, right? Oh, like, yeah, it's closing right now. The owner, like, we gotta count the money still. Like, we gotta this, we gotta that. And I'm gonna be honest, bro. And like, if you're listening to this interview and you support me, whether you're a promoter, you're a DJ, you're an owner, like, this goes for me, but this goes for anybody. I do not like waiting on money I already worked for. And I think anybody who works for their money should feel that way. Like, there's nothing worse than somebody telling you, like, oh, you're going to get X amount of dollars, like Friday. Friday comes around and it's Monday and I'm still texting you, like, where's my money?
Dude,
I mean, like, because the thing with me too is I'm chill now. Remember, don't forget. But like, don't forget the like other guy I was telling you about when I was younger.
We don't want to bring old Kev back.
Exactly, you said it. And moments like that make me have to bite my tongue. And luckily, I got my brother Raph over here, and sometimes even Michelle when she was managing me, kind of like, yo, bro, you got to chill out, bro, because it's not that serious. And sometimes it's not that serious, but when you come from a certain background and you feel like people are playing with your time and money, I felt that in other ways. So sometimes it takes you to that mindset and you have to dial it back and remember, like, this is the music industry. This is how things go. But I would say that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, just stand on your shit, bro. Like, just call it for what it is. If you say something, stand on that shit. And if you're going to be funny with money, say that from jump too. Like, you're not gonna get a mad Kev on a Monday if you've been said that. But if you tell Kev, like, yeah, Saturday night, you're gonna pay Saturday night, and it's Tuesday, like, if I text you kind of like, where's my money? Like, you can't even be mad about that. You shouldn't.
The reality of the situation, though, Kev, and because I've been there, and I'll share a couple. Don't expect to get into the entertainment industry and not get paid. Like,
we know
you're
that now.
It's gonna happen. And like, I hope someone like an artist or somebody in there, like, just know that it's gonna happen. And like, when it happens, you know, just try to stay calm and collected and just understand it's kind of part of the due paying process for getting in this. And like, you know, eventually you get to a point where you weed out the people that you shouldn't be working with and you should be working with. It's kind of a trial and error process, right? But I'll share a couple instances. So this one was like, dude, I had my first bad instance very early on. So when I was 16, like, this is the same era of like fighting Mike Squires, but you know, I wanted to get my first website built because I knew at that, like, it was important to have a website, and you know, I think people would take you a lot more legit. Dude, keep in mind, I'm a 16-year-old, so $300 for me is a lot. And at that time, my family's going through a very tough time, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, I was able to like rack together $300, pay this dude for my website. Never delivered on the website, dude. So then I had to go through, and I paid an additional dude like $500 to do a website. So now I'm $800 in for this website at age 16. But I finally ended up getting the website, and it was easier to get bookings after that. You know what I mean? I was able to turn that website to something profitable. But you know, I could have just called it quits at that $300 website, you know. And to this day, dude, I see people that owe me money. Even at I see my first class all the time. Like, I see a fucking, hilarious. Dude, I like dapped up somebody the other day. And I was like, oh, great to see you. In the back of my head, I was like, motherfucker owes me $800, dude. You know, but,
oh, man.
You know, but it's like, that shit was so long ago that I just like let it go. And a lot of the time, like, I try to, because I've been in bad situations before. I've always paid my debts. Mike Squires has always paid every single one of his debts. Like, you know what I mean? I'm clear on that. But I do understand the feeling of, you know, struggle and not being able to. You know what I mean? Or really like scraping it together, you know? And I like, there have been times, like, thankfully not recently, but, you know, back in the day where I'm just like, yo, give me a couple more days and I promise you I got you. You know what I mean? So it's like, but I think that all goes back to communication, right?
I was just about to say, like, not to cut you off, but you just nailed it. You said, give me a couple more days, but I got you. My biggest red flag in that convo is a lot of times there is no understanding of that. There's radio silence. And like, what if I didn't hit you up? Like, a lot of these situations are situations where I genuinely feel like if I didn't hit them up, it would have never fell through. And that's why for me, it's like the music industry is that. Like, now it's different now. Like, because now the way I move, it's like I'm moving away now where if you're not paying me, like, let's say a security deposit up front, I don't care how big, how small, how irrelevant or relevant you think my brand is. I cost X amount of dollars, and especially if you're reaching out to me first, don't be surprised if I hit you with a security deposit. And respectfully, anyone out there who's watching this, you got to understand that we've already been on the other end of things. I'm not coming from like a point of view of like I think I'm better or anything. Like none of that. I'm just not in a position. I'm getting older now. I'm not in a position to just be waiting on $400 because this promoter felt like Saturday after the gig he wanted to go spend it somewhere, and now he has to like figure out how he's paying me back like for next week. Like that wasn't agreed on, like, you know. So for me, it's like I definitely learned to like not take things so personal in this game, because like if you do, you'll just be always crashing out. But at the same time, like with the bad comes the good. Like, all right, I've been through these bad situations, I know how to avoid them. But the bad thing about that, or not bad thing, because I think I'm big on if people aren't meant to be, they won't be there anymore. But some people that you used to work with, they're like, oh, but like I was able to like get you off the limb. And I'm like, yeah, but those days are gone now, my boy.
Yeah.
And some people, they think that you are doing it from a point of view of you leveled up and you're better than people. And that's not the case, because anyone who knows Kev, I'm still Kev. Like, I'm still a funny guy. I'm still a cool guy. But there's a few people that might get the like, I don't fuck with you energy.
They gotta grow with
shit
you,
that
dude.
you did, exactly,
dude. You know, and I have a couple people. Most of the people that either don't fuck with me or like, because I really don't have any issues with anybody, like across the board, dude. Like even people that have like screwed me over or like to, because I don't know, I don't want to harness that energy and vibe in my heart. I just don't have time for it. I got to keep it pushing. But there are definitely people that don't like me, right?
Yeah.
And most of those times, though, like I'm sure those like situations could be solved with just communication. 9 out of 10 of those situations, like I've reached out, like, or tried to tap in and like either A, try to clear the air, B, just like I'm that dude that is so consistent with like following up on texts and everything that like it's fucking annoying. Like I know I'm annoying, but you know exactly where the fuck I stand every single time. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get any like bullshit like, oh, I don't know where Mike's feeling. No, I'll tell you, like if I hate the mix, I fucking hate the mix. Yeah. Boom, I'm telling you. Maybe I'll say it way nicer than that. I'll be like, yo, like this one wasn't landing exactly where I expected. If we could just like bring up the kick, you know what I mean? Or stuff like that. Things like that. Or like, I don't know, but the point I'm trying to get to, your biggest asset in music is communication. Being able to communicate how you're feeling, being able to communicate what the thing is, because if there is an issue, let's say, you know, you and I got into like, you know, we were in business together, some shit happens, like things go wrong. It's just part of the game. Now, if I ghost you, that problem now becomes bigger. Now this problem is getting bigger because now you don't know how to like what to do because I'm not ghosting you. But if we're just like, we have a conversation right now and I'm just like, yo, how do we get back from this one, dude? You know, we shoot each other ideas.
Yeah.
We'll figure out something, dude. Like, as long as you're in good communications with people, and you could also, like, you know, I'm sure there have been, I can't think of one now, but I'm sure there have been instances where, like, money's been lost. You know what I mean? It's like, instead of ghosting the person, sometimes, like, yo,
this is what happened.
it didn't work out.
Yeah.
We lost the
Yeah.
money. It's gone. You know what I mean? It's like, and people will always respect that way more than the ghosting. Ghosting is never an effective strategy. I don't know.
Never works.
Listen, if you're somebody who ghosts people, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Just have a conversation like a man, or if you're a woman, like a woman, you know what I'm saying? But like, it just, where does ghosting become a good, effective strategy?
You know what's funny that you say that? It's funny you say that because the problem is, like, I'm also realizing that a lot of people aren't like us, like me, like you. Like, we could have an issue, let's say, right? And me and you are going to talk it out. A lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people ghost because that's their mechanism. Like, they're like, I'd rather avoid than, like, get it over with. Me, I'm the type of dude where I'm kind of, you get what you get, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm not going to tell you this and then, like, feel about it over there.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to hear it. And I feel like that's the other part of communication as well. I feel like delivery is something that, you know, is important, because I could try to convey a message to you, but if I say it in the wrong tone, the wrong look, the wrong attitude, I could have meant that, and now it turned into a whole different situation.
Yeah, how you say things is important too. That's like, sometimes you got to take a step back too. Like, I'm big on, like, if something goes wrong, you know, like really take a breather. Like you're not going to get an answer from me like right there. I got to like take a step back, reevaluate just for a second, just so I can get my thoughts. So I'm just not like spewing out whatever. But yeah, communication's key. Like if you're in not even just fucking entertainment, anything in life, dude.
Relationships,
yeah,
anything.
Communication's always so key. And like, you know, I was talking to my sister about this too, because, you know, some people just have avoidant personalities. And like what she was explaining to me, like from like a psychological standpoint, is that some people just like aren't able to because like they're afraid.
Well, I go to say what I said earlier to say this. Some people just don't like confrontation. Me personally, I don't like confrontation 100%.
Nobody likes confrontation,
I'm not going to lie to you.
dude.
No one does. But at the same time, like, you know, not to be this big, like, sign person, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm a Capricorn. My mother's a Scorpio. My sister's a Scorpio. My dad's a Capricorn. If you know about that, you know we don't really beat around the bush. And honestly, Scorpios don't really either. So that's, like, good, but it's bad because, like, I'm not scared of confrontation. So that could be a problem as well because, like, I might be trying to tell you something in a good way, but it could come off as confrontational. Or you could be somebody that I said it in the correct way, but you're taking it as confrontation because you're just such an avoidance personality that someone like you and me are polar opposites at this moment. And even that could ruin things sometimes. Like, you know, I've been there. So, like, one thing I've definitely, like, try to get better as I get older is delivery, because every time I've said something, even if it was unapologetically me, I meant it. It's just how did I say it? And that makes a big difference, you know? So like communication is key, especially in this nightlife shit, because, you know, it could be from how you said you got promised to get paid Saturday to now it's Wednesday and you're not even getting paid yet. And it's worse when you didn't even charge what you really charged. That's another red flag. That's another red flag for all the promoters out there and DJs. Know your worth, man, and charge what you're going to charge. Because at the end of the day, bro, when these moments come around, the last thing you want to be doing is, A, chasing anybody around. But if you are, the last thing you want to be doing is chasing around somebody for $75 or $100. Like, that just makes it worse.
Yeah.
So,
Kev, what's something that we don't know about you? Tell me like an interesting thing about you, dude.
A lot of interesting things. I mean, it's really a situation where you just gotta, I guess you gotta get to know me as you go.
Any hobbies, dude?
I mean,
talents, surprise talents.
Like, you catching me lacking right now. I don't know, like weird. I don't know, Raph. You know me from like a third party. Like, what's something that you know I could do or like funny or whatever?
He's a dancer? Oh, skateboarder.
Nah, but that's not even now though. Well, when I was young, all right, so let's take it back since he brought that up. When I was young, when I was like in like 6th grade, I had my little skater phase. So yeah, until I broke my ankle. Once I broke my ankle, yeah, it was raps after that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I guess that are like no one knows yet, but like at the same time,
I like the skater fact, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, skating was one. All right, so this is like a known thing if you follow me and stuff, but like I'm a foodie, you know, I like cooking as well. So like I'm big like into like trying new places out and like, you know, cooking too. Like I like
What's
to cook.
the DJ Kev signature dish, dude? If I was coming to your house tonight, what are you cooking me, dude?
It just depends what you're in the mood for, bro. You want pasta? You want tacos? I know this, man. I know I'm Mexican, so we definitely make up a good little guac. I know that. We make some good guac, some good tacos.
I'm taking you up on this, dude.
Yeah,
this
man,
is like a real time
listen,
thing,
when
dude.
I was in
like,
college, man, listen, I'll say this. When I was in college, I was dealing with a girl at the time, and she liked the guac, and her girls liked the guac, to the point where like it became like it's Taco Tuesday and bros making guac today. So listen,
you gave the guac and they gave the guac, dude. That's crazy, dude.
Hey, we're gonna keep it PG. We're gonna keep it PG.
Yeah.
But if you know, you know. Read about it. But on some real shit though, yeah, I'm a foodie, man. There's a lot of shit that I like, you know, do, I guess. I've been just trying to get into more habits though, if you want me to be honest. Like I've been trying to get into more healthier habits. Like
it's
like,
hard,
even reading,
dude.
bro. Like you might think I'm dumb for even saying that, but like, dude, like for the longest time, like especially after college, I was like, dude, fuck books. The last thing I want is like fucking books, especially when I didn't finish. I was like, fuck that. But as I get older, I've been trying to get into like reads, you know, trying to expand my mind, man, because just because I didn't finish college doesn't mean you're a dumbass, you know?
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, you look at some of the most successful people and, like, they didn't go. But, like, to me, it's neither here nor there. Like, you could be smart, go. You could be smart, not go. Like, whatever. And the thing is, smart is, like, kind of a weird thing, too, because it's like you can be very smart at certain things. You know what I mean? It's like, if you were to ask me about any editing software, I got you. You know what I mean? If you were to ask me right now to fucking
some street savvy shit or
recite
whatever,
you some law, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the guy, but it's like smart's like a subjective thing. You know what I mean? In my opinion, like there's IQ tests, but there's all different types of smart. Like even just saying street smart, it's like, bro, like especially in music, and I'll go even further, especially in hip hop, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta have some street smarts, dude. Otherwise,
100%.
like, you know, it's just like anything, dude. You'll get taken advantage of, dude, because that's one thing that I think is a little bit different than entertainment than a lot of these other industries is that people are out here trying to fucking sell dreams, dude. And I fucking hate it. I've hated it since I got in this game, but it's like the people that'll like, yo, come on in. I can make this happen for you. But like really just don't have good intentions or like, just there to waste your time or fucking can't make it happen, dude. Because I think, unfortunately, in the music industry, there is a lot of fucking bullshit, dude. There's 100%. So like, but as you've been in the game, you see through it. You know what I mean? Like, you stop responding to those fucking emails of like, whatever the fuck, we'll get you on this playlist, 100 million streams. Yo, do not fuck with any of those playlists because they're just bad for the algorithm because what's happening, and I'll put you on the game real quick fucking with this type of shit, is like people will pay to get on these playlists. They'll get like fucking a bot farm over in fucking India or someplace to fucking ramp up your song. Now your song's got 100,000 plays and the algorithm is just fucking thinks bots are listening to your music, dude. Because the thing is, you're better off organically because then you organically find the people that want to listen to your music. You know what I mean? Versus... I hate the fucking fake it till you make it. And like, I understand that maybe from a perception standpoint and like how you carry yourself. But like with the metrics and stuff, like the way the game's set up, you're only hurting yourself when you do all the fucking fake juju fucking number shit, dude. So if you're an artist doing some fake shit, stop.
And this is the real kick too, right? To all the artists out there that are doing that and anybody really, any creative doing that. That's all cool, bro, until it comes to that moment where you finally have a real life opportunity, aka a club or a DJ or a platform or whatever tells you pull up and they're going off your algorithm and your numbers and they're like, oh, this guy pulls 100,000 in. He's easily going to bring 100 people to his show and there's like 5. Like the reality to this shit is like the online presence thing is cool, but like life is real too. People will see through you in person. So
you said it exactly, dude. People like, see right they're gonna through it, dude.
Yeah.
And that applies to a lot of things, not even just numbers, but like how you carry yourself too. Like, you know, I feel confident that I can walk in any room. The Mike Squires you see is the Mike Squires you will always get.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that, dude. Like I deal with motherfuckers. You see them one way online, you see them come in, you're like, yo, like, and it sucks because like, I have 2 thoughts on it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, dog, you're like kind of disingenuous. I don't like it. But sometimes people are just afraid to be themselves. You know what I mean? And with that being said, it's like that I have like some sympathy for because sometimes it's tough to put yourself out. Like it like in entertainment, you have to put yourself out there. We have to be on camera. You have to be posting. You got to do all these things. It's not easy to just keep putting yourself out there time after time after time again. But like when you're just yourself unconditionally, it's just easy. You know what I mean? Because then you don't have to think about things. You can just fucking hop on a mic and do a podcast just the way we're doing it. You can't do, like, if you're not yourself, I don't believe that you can have a podcast week after week after week after week. Because eventually, the real you is going to show through. You know what I mean? You can't fake that funk.
The persona wears away. The fake persona would wear away if it was a fake funk.
Oh, yeah, dude. And it's like, you just get tired. You'd be fatigued because you'd have to, like, be something that you're not, dude. And, like, I'm sure that eats at people that do that. Now, I do see, like, people that do personas, like an artist like an Oliver Tree, right? Like he's kind of, if you're familiar, he's like...
What's to do with the shades and like the bangs and all that?
Yeah, the bowl haircut. You know what I mean? Like, for all I know, that's legitimately Oliver.
Yeah.
But let's say it's not. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing something like fun and like artistic like that, to me it's a little different, but like, I don't know. I'm going to pull it to another part of this because I'm curious, what's the best advice that you've ever gotten?
I've gotten a lot of advice in my life because of a lot of bad moments I've been in too.
What's a bad moment, some advice that you got?
I would say this, right? Some of the best advice that I got was obviously follow your dreams, which that is very cliche. But at the same time, like, no one's going to believe until you do, bro.
It's
like,
the realest, dude.
That's the realest
That's my
shit.
whole motto, believe before the world does.
Exactly, bro. I've been in this game long enough where if it was up to people's perceptions or people's opinions or my family's opinions, I would have been turned the lights off. But I kept going, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in situations where I damn near had to tell somebody why what they're telling me is bullshit because you don't walk my shoes. Even if you're my blood or you're my friend, you don't walk my shoes. You don't see what I see. You're not there every second of the moment. So the best thing I could say, really, if I was going to give anyone advice, really, is just follow your dreams, believe in yourself, even when no one does, because no one could be your family too. No one could be your best friend too. And you still got to keep the lights on because at the end of the day, you're doing this for you. You're doing this for your future. And you're doing this for your future generations to come. Like, that's how I look at this. Like, for me, it's like, and again, I say this type of stuff, right? You might be like, what's the deal with this kid? It's not even that, dude. It's just that I'm a first generation guy. Like, I'm really was born here, but my parents is really from where they're from, you know? So, like, with us, it's like, they'll believe it when they see it. And I'm in a point in my career where my stuff, kind of what you said earlier today, my fruits are just kind of starting to blossom for real. And I feel like I've been in this DJ/music head scene for like over 6 years. So the fact that like shit is just blossoming now is almost like a testament to my words. Even when I've told them like, when you don't believe, I keep believing, and God and somebody else keeps believing. Like, even a day like today, dude, like, you know, it's a testament. It's a testament to anybody who doesn't believe in me or anybody who doubts or, you know, he's an inspiration, but how Khaled says, it's a testament to that they don't believe. You feel me? Because we over here. And if you believe, and you're going to see it. You know, sometimes seeing is believing, but at the same time, bro, you got to see it before anyone does. Because if you don't, bro, no one's going to see it for you.
It's the truth, dude. Yeah. And that and consistency, like, you just got to keep at it. And I like your keep the lights on saying, because, you know, I've been in this game long enough to see a lot of people turn the lights off and leave the game, dude. And to me, like, there is nothing sadder, in my opinion, because it's like quitting your dreams has got to be like the worst thing. It's just heartbreaking, dude, because it's like, yo, you gave up. You don't want it anymore.
Especially if you were so close. That's the worst, bro.
Oh, man.
That's even worse because it's like,
don't get me started.
You ever seen that meme online where it's like the
miner
and then there's the dude that turns around and this the one dude who like was one, like that guy was one chip away from like getting there.
I seen it firsthand, dog.
I felt that myself. I've been in situations where I've like damn near was like, I mean, I never really felt like I wanted to quit, but like life and people's opinions around me were like, am I doing the right thing? And then I keep going and boom, I'll hit like a new barrier that I unlock. And I'm like, this is why fuck everyone's opinion respectfully.
Dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know how bad I want it, right? Like, I know there is nobody who's going to outwork me. There's nobody who's going like, I'm going to keep at this thing nonstop. And what I've learned is that you can't expect how you're feeling about the game for everyone to feel like that, you know, because people have to want it for themselves. And at the end of the day, if they don't want it from themselves, it is what it is. And that's when you find the people that are all talk. And then kind of going back to what we talked earlier in the podcast, you know, like you kind of start outgrowing people, and like, it's sad. It really is sad. Cause like, you know, of course you want to like level up with the homies and stuff, but if they're not leveling up and staying in the same spot, that doesn't mean you got to stay down there too. You got to keep excelling and keep going for yourself. And it's like, you know, most of the friends I came up with all had dreams at some point. And a lot of the time, it's just me now. You know what I mean? I look to all those friends that I was like, yo, like, what the fuck happened? How did I end up like the last fucking standing person here? Like the zombie apocalypse of the entertainment industry.
I'm the guy to survive.
Well, that's what I'm saying, where it's like, and it's like, I have mixed feelings. You know, part of me is like grateful that I've been able to turn this into a career and like sustain and like do this full time. You know what I mean? Another part of me is sad because it's like, fuck, dude, like, not to like say I'm not near the top, but like for my goals and dreams, I'm making my way to the top. And they always say it's lonely at the top. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, so, but you know what I find too is like as you're building and making your way up, you'll find more people. You know what I mean? You'll find people that are in your circle, and you'll find people like you'll make new friends. But sometimes it's sad it's not the ones that you came up with in the first place, you know?
And this is something I'll even say out right now, right? Something that I had to learn with time is your biggest supporters are never going to be your friends. And what I mean by that is like, shout out to all my friends who've been consistent since day one, because I see all that shit. Shout out to my family. Shout out to any supporters. But what I mean by that is I'm saying like, if you're going to make like a brand today, let's call it, right? Let's say I'm going to make the Big Kev shirts today. I'd be an idiot to say, oh, like, yeah, I'm just banking on my friends. Because the reality is, A, when that doesn't happen, you're not only just going to be disappointed, but that's when you really realize like how big your brand is for real. So like if you're somebody who's banking on your friends to be your consumers, you're already losing, because the reality is you got to get the people that don't know you. Your 20 friends, they might be there in your biggest event, but it's like, what about the rest of the stadium? Like, where are they at? So you kind of have to have like that kind of mindset where it's like, shout out to the people that support me, but I'd be an idiot to say that like I'm going to sell my merch out today because of my friends.
Dude, I've said this before, and I'm sure the people on the podcast that are listening who have tuned into every episode know exactly what I'm about to say here. But the people back home won't support you until everybody else does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just like, you know, my first big song was not in Connecticut. It was not even in the U.S., dude. It was in Germany. That was my first big song. I had a song that did really well in Germany. And I've talked about on the pod how that happened. But it's like, you know, so now I'm out in Germany, and it's like I was on tour with another artist at the time, and I see someone holding up a copy of my album. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I take a picture of that and post that on my story. I go back home, and they're like, yo.
Oh, my God, Mike.
It's crazy, though, too. But it's like, in my head, I'm like, I am no different than the Mike Squires, pre-Germany Mike Squire. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. Like, the point that I'm, like, trying to get to is just, like, the people back home aren't necessarily going to support you, but that's also okay. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, nobody owes you anything. Right. And people supporting you really is a privilege. You know what I mean? And it's 100%. Like, it's like a trust thing, too. Like, you got to earn trust with people. And it's harder for the people back home, especially if they came up with you, to see you in that light, because they came from the same place as you. So it depends on I literally have a skit on my album that talks about this too, but it's like, you know, let's take Johnny that you went to middle school with. If Johnny comes from the exact same place as you, and Johnny doesn't have big expectations for himself, it's going to be very hard for Johnny to see big expectations for you. You know what I mean? So it kind of goes back to expectations, but like, you know, not everyone's going to support you, but just don't expect it either. You know what I mean? Like, getting the support is a privilege.
But that's why being a DJ is cool too, bro, because sometimes, you know, you get support. Like, you know, when I do events here, you know, people show love and stuff. But like when you go out of town or out of state or like way out there and you get a reaction from somebody you know you never met in one day in your life, that's a different feeling, because you know that you're accomplishing what you're good at, and it has nothing to do with like who you are. Like, not to be ego or not ego, but it's like, fuck Big Kev, fuck that guy. All I know is that guy right there on the stand, he's playing that shit right now. And the fact that you could get people to have that feeling that you don't know, as a DJ and as somebody who's an artist too, kind of, that's like the best feeling ever, because you want that. That's how real fan bases are made. That's how real supporters are made. Like how I said, your friends are always going to support you to a certain extent, but
and as long as you're having a good time too, it almost doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, if you can figure out like the sustaining yourself part of it, and then manage to have a good time and have fun with it, that's the best thing. I want to ask you a couple more questions, and I'm gonna pull this to the end zone, dude.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to touch on before we get out of here is, how did you end up becoming a radio DJ?
So that the whole way that came about is actually interesting. So remember I was telling you at one time my sister kind of helped manage me a little bit. She also has her own friends too, you know?
Yeah.
So at the time she she told me like, oh, Kev, we're going to go to my friend Ari's house. And Ari that I'm talking about is somebody named Ari Serrano. He's a designer. He does all type of stuff.
That's to do with the toenail slippers?
Yeah, the Timbs, all that, the Louis thing, all that.
Yeah.
Shout out Ari, man, if you're watching this, bro. So anyway, long story short, we go to Ari's house, right? We're chilling, we're rolling up. Ari's there with one of his homegirls, and his homegirl happened to be the homie Shanetta. So Shanetta, me and her get to talking. But mind you, at this time, like when I show up to his crib, I'm already like hella clubs deep. Like I already had like 2-3 gigs a weekend or a night type of situation. So like as far as like, I don't even want to say ego goes, but like radio wasn't even on my mind yet. I was like, oh, I'm DJ Big Kev. We out here. And like through talking to that, like she saw the confidence and she was like, yo, this kid's really out here though. Like he really be, oh shit, I know about that place. Oh, word. And then like she was like, oh, and I actually respect how she went about it because she didn't tell me like right there on the spot, like, oh, I'm like a Radiohead. Like I think she like mentioned it briefly, but she didn't go too crazy into it. Anyway, long story short, she follows me. About like a day or two later goes by and she's like, hey Kev, it was nice linking with you the other night. So I actually got a radio program like on WPKN 89.5 in Bridgeport, and I'm on twice a month. I'd love to have you and like interview you, kind of like this situation. But like at that time it was like so like I was not even who I am now. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So it was a situation where it went from like going there one night, went to the station, felt it out. It was supposed to be like an interview, but it ended up kind of like turning into like, yo, like come next time and DJ this time. So I DJ'd and like she liked it and she was like, all right, let's try this for a month. Come the next time. And then it got to a point where like she kind of saw, I'm sure, what I was made of. And she was like, I'm looking for a DJ to be like on board, like if you're down. And I was like, hell yeah, like I already do nightclubs. I've been wanting to do like radio and do other stuff. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So she took me on for like, I believe it was like 3 months at first. She took me on for 3 months, which was 6 shows because twice a month. So I did those first 6 shows. She loved it. And she was like, you know what? I could see you being here in the long haul. Let's do it. So, you know, you blink and like we're like 2, almost 3 years into it now. So like, you know, time goes by, but a lot of these situations, and to anybody watching, a lot of the biggest opportunities could come to you without you even looking for them. And that's why being consistent and working on yourself and believing in yourself is very important, because I was getting pitched for a radio and I didn't even know it. I was pitching myself for a radio and I didn't even know it. So that's kind of how that came about. And shout out to Shanetta, the homie. She's a little older than me too, so that's the homie. But in some things, she's also been like the mentor. You know, I have a few like kind of mentor figures in my life, but she's definitely been somebody that's helped me with my growth. You know, she definitely opened the door to even doing radio, like, and things like that. So, you know, shout out to S&M Radio, man, 89.5.
Yeah, and it's cool because like sometimes you don't know the opportunities that are right around the corner too. I really like that you brought that up because, you know, people can try things out and they fail, but you don't know, like, listen, it kind of goes back to the meme that you're talking about with the diamond. Like,
yeah,
you could be right there and it's like, okay, you know, maybe something that you're going through in life isn't working out and it's not great, but like it opens up the door for you. Like, oh, you met this person through that. And now all of a sudden your life is completely changed because, I mean, a great example of this is this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. At no point in my life did I sit down and be like, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast, you know? But, you know, I helped my homie Ian out, who has like a podcast studio now. And, you know, more just like a homie supporting. He ended up like building this podcast studio. And he's like, yo, I know you have the guests. Why don't you start a podcast? So that's how I ended up starting a podcast. So it's like, you know, sometimes, and now I enjoy doing the podcast, you know what I mean? But like, it wasn't like something I was seeking out. So sometimes the point I'm just trying to get to is like, you just got to keep fucking swimming, dude. And sometimes the right opportunity will come, and just try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things. Cause like when you were becoming a DJ, was there any like, or like more a radio DJ, did you have any fear, or did you have like, were you confident going into it?
So I've always been like a people's person. Like I'm not really necessarily the shyest person in the room. So like as far as like, you know, sitting in front of a mic and potentially be talking to a million people at once, I wasn't really that scared because I feel like not only my personality allowed it, but me already having a lot of like club experience, at least up until that day, for what I thought I knew, I already DJ'd to like masses already. So to me, it was just like, I'm doing this, but I can't see them now. But that kind of made it interesting too, because it's like I was able to bring the club to the radio, you know, like, and what I mean by that is like a lot of times, especially now, radio is chill, you know, it's a lot of commercial songs and stuff like that. But I was able to bring that element of like, oh shit, like if you listen to me in the nightclub and you turn the radio on, you're like, oh, he's partying up there right now. So I think for me, it wasn't like a struggle 100%. My biggest fear is just like, you're just stepping into the unknown. You know, sometimes when you don't know what's out there, you kind of do have a little, you know, your stomach's a little nervous a little bit, but
it's a great place to be though, in my opinion, because like nothing cool happens in the comfort zone.
Literally, they say that, you know, you grow when you get out of there. So for me, it wasn't necessarily like I was scared. I was actually excited because, how I said, I was already like in my own little world. So that to me was like, it almost was like a testament that like, you're good enough, keep going. Like, you know, because like, I'm like, what are the odds that I'm around everybody, all these DJs, and I get picked? Like, who am I?
I hear a lot of people talk about things like that too, where it's like, you know, they'll be in rooms with like either artists that they looked up to, like big heavy hitters in the music industry. And I always like, people are like, yo, I felt out of place there. And I was like, to be honest, dog, you wouldn't be there if you weren't supposed to be there. You know what I mean? Like, you worked hard to get to the point to be in those rooms with those people. Now fucking step up and get to it, because being the shy dude in the corner is going to do nothing for you right now.
And that is something that I'm glad you brought up, because, you know, like how they say, like with new levels, there's new challenges. You know what I'm saying? So that brought me to another level, you know, but also it brought me to new challenges I never faced before, you know? So like how I said, the homie Shanetta, she's always been good with kind of like guiding me in a direction, even if it's like I didn't ask for it, or even if I do ask for it, I'm like, yo, like, what do you think about this? But she's also like, she also knows what I'm worth, and she doesn't let me bullshit. So like, in other words, she'll tell me, she'll call me out like, yo, you're bullshitting, by the way.
You need people like that,
I like having people, because my boy right here, he's always been that.
You need it. It's so important, dude.
In the radio realm, it's dope because she was almost like the person who was like, all right, this is how we're going to go about it. You're going to still be you, but I'm going to show you the ropes on this side of things. And like, you know, through that, you know, opportunities come up, you know, and time goes on. You know, you start networking with people, you start meeting people, you start meeting the playmakers and all the people that kind of matter, I guess you could call it. I mean, we all matter, but you know what I mean by that. And one thing leads to another. And like, you know, I don't do it every Friday or every 2 Fridays. But, you know, like the homie Nakia, she's like all right, so at S&M Radio, we have 11:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. Every other Wednesday. So I started like on some graveyard shift shit, like a lot of dudes. So I had like that humble beginning. Like I didn't get into the hot spot off rip. But the homie Nakia, she's another programmer there, and she has prime time slot. So her slot is like 9 to 12 every other Friday, but like in the daytime. So
she had like a lot of commuters and stuff.
Yeah, but like she has like the bulk. And what I mean by that is like the nighttime is cool because it kind of like shows us like who's coming there for us. But the daytime, it's like, I look at it like a nightclub, right? The first radio station is more like you opening up. That's how I looked at it. But it's bigger than that, so I'm not downplaying it. But the prime time is like, it's like when you walk into a lit club already.
That's sick.
It doesn't matter who you are. The crowd is here. We're going to see who you are now.
It's a Saturday night versus a Thursday night.
So I don't even want to say it like that because I'm not downplaying it. But what I'm saying is like, I had to do the Thursday nights for me to have successful Saturday nights, right? So I'm blessed to even have people in my network like that where if I were or they hit me up, I could do that. So time went on, and you know, Nakia, she let me do a couple 9 to 12s, and they were successful, dude.
Let's go,
it was cool because even with the nighttime stuff, you know, we have people tune in to me and Shanetta's show like just off the strength. But that was one of those moments where I was like, I could show the masses around here like, okay, you guys know me on some graveyard shit, But now, while you guys are at work or on your way to work or in the car at work, tune in real quick. Because I know you guys are up now, not at 2:30 in the morning. So a lot of people didn't even really realize I was on the radio still until like I got that shot. Because they're like, oh shit. And like I had homies be like, yo, bro, like I heard you in the car this morning. Like that was so fire, bro. Like, so a lot of times like this stuff is out of nowhere, bro. Like for real. Like it's like you would have never expected it.
Put me onto some game for DJs, dude. Because I'm sure there are people that are listening that want to get into it or, you know, just maybe don't even know where to start.
All right. I mean, it's like anything, bro. And in life, you got to like what you do. Like, you know, if you're doing it for a fad or, you know, it's a trend or you want to get the girls and all that type of stuff, then it's eventually not going to work out. Because it's like anything. Like, you get burnt out, especially if it's something you're not invested into. So the first thing for me, I would say, is if you're trying to get into the DJ realm and you're trying to, like, really be a DJ, whether it's in your bedroom, at a nightclub, on the radio, wherever, first, like what you do. Because there's going to be moments, how we talked about earlier, where you're not getting paid at all or you get misled. So, yeah, we got you with X amount of dollars and then you don't get it. And it's moments like that where, like, it shows if you love it or not.
Oh, yeah, dude. The love needs to be there. Like, I think in a lot of careers, you can't do it if you don't love it. But, like, I feel like just because I've been in this one, you can't be in this game if you don't love it, because there's going to be more issues and problems than there will be success, at least in the beginning.
I was going to say, especially in the beginning, bro.
And, but, you know, eventually, like, those moments of success make those down moments worth it.
Right. So 100%. And just to piggyback off that, like, you know, love, like, has to be there. It's like a relationship. You could like this girl. She could look good. But if you don't really love her, that's going to wear out eventually. So I look at it like that. And aside from that, bro, like, you know, just have that drive, man, because there's going to be a lot of, like, you know, I know you guys see me here today and, like, there's some people who are probably like, whatever. But to those that actually believe and see me here now today, like, I got a lot of no's to get to this moment. And what I mean by that is, like, no's, like, weren't just like, oh, no, like, no, you're whack, or no, you're not marketable, or no, you're this, like, mean shit. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have, like, tough skin, bro, that first no or that second or third one, after that, you're done.
How you react to no's is very telling about a person, dude. Like, both, like, 'cause I've been on both sides where it's like, you know, people have told me no on stuff, but I'm always someone to shoot my shot. Always. You know what I mean? Like, because if it doesn't happen, whatever, but, like, I think I'm better off for always asking. You know what I mean? So, you know, but you can't just be like a spoiled little fucking brat, like, if you get told no, like, but it's also on the other side too, where it's like, you know, people ask me to do projects and stuff, and I've gotten way better at telling people no, because, you know, at a point, like, I would spread myself too thin and say yes to too many projects, to the point where, like, my quality of, like, work would go down, right? But, you know, I like telling people, not that I like telling people no, but I like finding out where people stand. And you'll find out where people stand when you tell them no, because when people don't get their way, depending on how they react, it tells a lot about a person. If they're like, you know, if someone hits me about, like, doing an event or something, or like a collaboration, I'm like, you know, no, or not right now. Like, if they're like, no worries, like, would still love to connect on something, like, link in the future, like, that's going to sit better than me if you just fucking ghost me right after. Like, what the hell? You just asked me for something and then you dip? Like, that's ass, dude. Like, you know what I mean? At least, like, fake a friendship or something, dude. Like, pretend to, like, you know, because it's like,
give a fuck or something.
Yeah, like, because I'm just like, because, you know, at a certain point, like, no one likes being used. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, you just, like, are hitting me because you want something, not because, like, let's link and build. Like, don't fucking just come here to take it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it also, like, waters down my price if I'm just handing it out like that. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think there's a lesson to be learned, and hopefully you're not the person on here that's, like, listening and just, like, asking for things. But I will end on this thought right here, and then I'll toss it back. Provide value. You will win more situations if you provide value more than you ask. Instead of asking, Mike, can I get a beat? Just be like, yo, I see you're building a studio. You want me to come paint your walls? There's legitimately a dude who offered that. Like, that's why I'm bringing up that example. You know what I mean? And he's a dope artist, but now because he's, like, brought value and just, like, you just always want to bring value to somebody before you ask. So that's the point I'm trying to get to. And tossing it back because I want to hear about some DJ game, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, man, value is definitely something that you have to bring and have in this game. But also to like the new DJs out there, you know, especially if you're like trying to get into the game, like that's something you're going to have to build too, though. And with that comes like the good times, the bad times, but you just have to be around for all of the times. Like, you know, I didn't just get here on some because it went good every time. Like, I'm willing to say that 60% of the time it went bad. But all it takes is for that right 40% to really hit, because, you know, like kind of how my man's right here tells me all the time, like, you know, excuse my language, but all it takes is that one right move to everybody be on your dick again. And that's just how this game is.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
We're going to have you on, dude. You got too many quotables, like secondary quotables, dude.
Yeah. Raph, you definitely going to have an episode with Raph alone, because I know that's going to be
the Raph
very,
episode
like,
is coming, guys. We just booked it right now live on the spot. He
Yeah.
hasn't confirmed with me, but he's smiling over
Raph,
there.
yes and no, yes and no. Nah, it's looking like a yeah. It's looking like a yeah.
But no, but it's true, dude, because like that applies to so many, especially in entertainment, dude. Like, dog, I probably have like at least 100 songs out now. Not every single one's a bullseye, but the bullseye carried everything. You know what I mean? I had a couple bullseyes, you know, but it's like you basically just got to keep throwing darts, whatever you're trying to do, and eventually you'll hit some fucking bullseyes, and they'll make everything worth it.
The biggest key is just don't get discouraged, bro, because like I've been in moments where I've gotten discouraged, bro. Like let me give you an example, right? I have had, like, over the last year or two, have had a look in within myself and see what I really want, you know? And with that comes what we were saying 2 minutes ago, the no's. I never been a yes man, because I'll be quick to tell you no, but what I mean by I was saying yes too much is, like, even shit that was shooting you in your foot. Like, oh, yeah, just so you could do that. And when you're coming up at the beginning, you're going to say yes to a lot of shit just to get your face out there. And respectfully, there's nothing wrong with that. If not, you won't. But it gets to a point in your career where you have to learn how to say no. Because if not, you start getting watered down. You start getting reused. And I said the word reused because you're going to get used in this game. It's about how you go about your shit. Yeah. And like just don't get discouraged, bro. Like definitely learn game, take game, learn from people, be coachable too, because a lot of people are very like, and I'll even admit this too, like especially in the beginning, like you could be a little bit ahead of yourself, especially if it's going well. You'd be like, oh, I'm the guy. Like who am I gonna listen to you? Like you're an old fart, and the whole time that old fart knows a trick or two that I don't even know shit about. So just be coachable. Like that's the biggest thing I'm gonna say. Like a lot of this shit is like just learning, but then like. Not to sound cliche, bro, but a lot of this shit is just in you if it is, bro. Because there's a lot of people.
You either got it or you don't, dude.
Yeah, bro. Like there's a lot of people who want to be DJs, or there's a lot of people who are great at being DJs, but they can't even talk on the mic at a party. It's like, oh, I'm like this antisocial guy, but I'm right here, and it's like little shit like that could either make you or define you. Or
there are talkers and then there's doers, dude.
Exactly.
I love this podcast because I feel like we've been going gem for gem, dude, and it's kind of got me inspired on some like. I think it'd be funny if I did like a skit video or something where it's like set up like a rap battle, but instead of like doing bars against each other, y'all are just like spitting like.
It's like game for game.
Yeah, just game, but like not even like rapping, just like, yo, believe in yourself no matter what. And everyone's like, oh, like. You know,
keep going.
It's just like, oh. I might have to go to first class and shoot this like little fucking skit, dude.
Listen,
call it gem for gem, dude.
Come through to first class. We'll make it happen, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to end on this question, dude. What's DJ Big Kev's message to the world?
Message to the world. Oh, man, you put me on the spot.
Always do to every single person. It's the one I ask every single time before we close out.
I mean, message to the world, man. Just if you believe you can do it, you could do it. But the reality to that is, you know, a lot of things will stay in your head until you start putting the footwork in. And that's something that I had to even, like, within the last year do. Like, you know, like, I, like, you know, kind of how I said, like, my man's over here, he manages me kind of, but he kind of, like, I say kind of now because now it's really on me. Like, if I need shit, I know I got somebody in my corner, but now it's really on me. If I get booked, it's on me. If I'm doing this, it's on me. If I got this placement, it's on me. So, like, just don't leave shit up to people sometimes because, like, it'll help you until it doesn't. And then there's moments where you feel like you're alone again, and it's like sometimes it's your own fault because you gave too much people power and you had it the whole time.
I love that, dude. And you explain that in a way that I really appreciate that, too, because I think, you know, there's a ton of artists that, like, bring on management, bring on labels. And, like, they'll take their foot off the fucking gas and then they think they pass the ball over to somebody. But at the end of the day, the only person in charge of Mike Squires' ship is Mike Squires. You know what I mean? If I'm not steering this shit, it's going nowhere. So, like, your career is in your hands. You get up today. You make the moves. You do it.
And I found, not to cut you off, bro. And like one thing too is like I found myself being mad at people for shit, you know? Like, oh, it's your fault that I'm XYZ, or where's this weekend's booking? You're not doing your job. And it turns into a situation where maybe at the moment you're right, but it's ultimately your fault. Because, you know, you're allowing that to happen, or you're not
accountability,
taking initiative, you know? So like that's my biggest thing. Like believe in yourself. Take initiative and respectfully fuck anyone who says no, because if I was to listen to anybody who said no and I would have just turned my little equipment off then, I would not be here today at all. So like just believe in yourself, bro. Like have self-confidence. Even if you're not somebody with high self-esteem, like keep going, bro. If you could believe it, if you could see it, if you could dream it, it's possible. So
Kev, if people want to connect with you and find you, how can they?
So you can follow me on Instagram at DJ Big Kev, on all platforms at DJ Big Kev, YouTube channel. I'm starting to work on that. It's kind of deady still, but it's going to be a lot of content coming soon. It's official DJ Big Kev. And you can check me out on 89.5 Wednesday, first and third Wednesday of every month, 11:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. Every now and then you might catch me 9 a.m. to 12 on every other Friday on 89.5. And then aside from that, bro, we didn't get too much into it, but I got some placements coming.
Oh, let's talk about that real quick before we get out of here.
All right.
Now I want to hear. Well, what you got coming up, dude?
All right. All right. So, yeah, man. So there's just a lot of stuff that we do now, man. And I'm actually proud of it now that I'm even here talking about it. Like, it's like sometimes you don't realize it till you lay it all out, you know? But I got a lot of stuff coming soon. Like, you know, if you haven't seen me in the club as active as you used to, like, you know, trust me that that's all on purpose. Like, you know, I've taken time out of my, this last year to focus on the things that matter, and production and learning how to engineer was a big one because I have my own goals, but I guess the best way to put it for the masses to kind of understand is I'm going to be DJ Big Kev and I'm going to be myself. But I'm probably going to be the next DJ Big Khaled, like DJ Khaled type of guy. And what I mean by that is you caught him at the radio back in the day. You caught him in the clubs back in the day, but you might not now, and he's making hits now. So, you know, I like that versatility that he has to offer. Like, I know you didn't ask me it, but, like, he's one of the DJs that, you know, growing up, I'm like, okay, this is a way to go about it.
I fuck with Khaled, dude.
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of people like, you know, clown him sometimes for his like behaviors, but at the end of the day, he's a fucking genius in how he's moved and like how like dude's got fucking hits, dude.
Yeah, man. And
all I do is win is an anthem, dude.
Bro, I suffer for success. I feel him. Trust me, it's too much shit he says. But what I'm saying, I go to say this, like, you know, like, also I could resonate with him a lot because, you know, for obvious reasons, I'm a big guy too, you know. So sometimes, like, you know, you get doubted in this world, especially in the entertainment industry, like, even off your look or whatever. But just like him too, I'm very high energy. Anybody who knows me for real would tell you, like, yo, this he's about that shit. He's not letting a bad day stop him. Like, I could have got yelled at 5 minutes ago and you wouldn't have known that right now. Because I'm not gonna project that out here. Like, I'm projecting for better shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not we the best, but, you know, everything big. You know what I'm saying? So, like, bigger shit, bigger accomplishments, bigger goals. You know, we're tired of living a whack life. You know, we already came from nothing. We know what that is. So, like, at this point, just trying to move forward, bro. So he's one of my inspirations for sure as far as this DJ shit goes, you know, because I kind of dabbled in a lot of lanes that he did already. And then, you know, even a dude like radio-wise, I was able to meet him one time in Miami, like DJ Camilo.
Amazing,
you know,
dude, yeah.
Funk Flex. Like, I grew up listening to these guys. Like, don't forget, I'm from the area. So, like, I literally grew up listening to these guys. So the fact that, like, I'm in a situation now where I even am privileged enough to rub shoulders or work with you or around you is, like, to me, it's cool. Like, and I've never been the type of person to be scared to give somebody their flowers, you know? Like, we all came from nothing and we all made it or are making it. So, you know, I'm not trying to be another man. I'm trying to be myself. I'm trying to be Big Kev, everything big. But I just say this so the masses could understand, like, where do we see Kev in the next few years? Like, somewhere in that trajectory for sure.
Well, let's fucking go, dude.
Yeah.
Kev, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate you for having me,
dude.
bro. Appreciate you.
It's been a good one, dude. Yeah, and I appreciate you coming to me in Limbo studio space in the background of the Holiday Wish.
Yeah, man, it's coming along, man. Congrats to you too, man. Mike
Thank you,
Squires,
dude.
man. He It's the voice right here, man.
I appreciate you. Yeah, for the people off camera that can't see, but Elf on the Shelf has been staring at me the entire time over here. Literally, it's a giant Elf on the Shelf hat. You'll never actually hold on, stand by. I'll pop it on in the morning. Hold on, I just need y'all to know how this.
He's been eyeing us this whole time too.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's fucking. We're having this crazy, dude. Oh yeah. All right. Yo,
The
Kev,
Christmas spirit, you heard?
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, dude. Let's
you know
go.
that, my boy, Mike Squires, man.